Hyperion vs. Valkyrie was a debate as old as its time. In 2021 BC, the modern world as we know it didn't exist. But in 2021 AD, one of the fiercest arguments amongst the Hypixel Skyblock community was at hand. Which Necron blade variant was better, Hyperion or Valkyrie? At the time of said debate, I made a video about it, doing my own research and forming my own opinion on the matter. But that was 2 years ago. The meta has shifted wildly since then, with new dungeon floors being released, the Crimson Isle is now a thing, and just the overall amount of power creep that has happened since the long gone era of 2021. So I think the debate is worth bringing to light again. So first off, what is a Necron blade? Well, Okay, I think we all know what the Necron blades are. You go into the dungeon, you kill the dude, you loot the chest, get nothing from the chest, and then you cry. But if you're lucky, you get the funny stick, some catalysts, some books, you smash together, and bing bang boom, you got a Necron sword. If you want more details, you can go watch my pretty cool video, I explain it more in depth there. Alright, now that I've wasted the past 40 minutes of your time explaining what Necron swords are, let's talk about which one is the best. But to do that, first we have to do all the Necron blade variants share one thing. They gain base damage and base stats every Catacombs level you have. All the variants are shown on screen, along with their item cards. All 4 blade variants specialize in one stat. Valkyrie has higher strength and ferocity, Hyperion has intelligence, Estrella has defense, and Scylla has crit chance and damage. In 2021, when I posted my original video, people only really focused on Hyperion and Valkyrie. However, since more content has been added into the game and the meta has shifted, people started using the other 2 variants. So let's talk about them first. Scylla has been arguably the most popular, with its additional critical hit damage being able to outdamage the Valkyrie's additional strength in certain scenarios. However, the main reason people use Scylla's crit damage is not for its offensive damage, but rather its defensive utility. Every Necron blade can utilize the Wither Impact ability, which derives part of its functionality from the Wither Shield ability. When using Wither Shield, 150% of your critical damage is converted into an Absorption Shield, meaning that with Scylla's innate crit damage, the shield you gain from it will be larger. This, along with Catascaling, increasing its crit damage by large amounts, makes Scylla the perfect combo of offensive and defensive utility, with the only other contender being Estrella. The once disputed worst Necron blade variant has actually seen quite a bit of usage, especially amongst high-level players. Its main functionality is the current Dungeons Mage meta, with Estrella being the main clearing tool. The reason it's used is because it provides an enormous defense buff, even more so than Scylla. Scylla sees use because people tend to use Wither Impact as a support tool, with its on-demand damage reduction, and Absorption Shield being incredibly useful, both in and outside of dungeons. However, Estrella sees use because it fills a niche the high kata mages can't fill anywhere else: defense. Wither Goggle Storm mages are incredibly squishy, so using an Estrella helps bolster their defense and bring their lack of effective health down to a more manageable level. And with the Wither Blade being constantly held and Wither Impact being spammed, a bigger Absorption Shield isn't as effective as a larger defense pool when clearing dungeons. Hyperion, the namesake of the entire Necron blade line, has actually been useful in a handful of scenarios. Its first is out of Dungeons Mage, which has seen a lot of usage as of late. In the context of Mage, EHP doesn't matter as much as a big mana pool when outside of dungeons. As such, with its much higher intelligence, Hyperion has seen quite a bit of out of dungeons use, with its main uses being Spider Slayer, Ender Slayer, Crimson Isle usage, and Kudra fights. Of course, it's still good in dungeons, with many people choosing to use it over Estrella when clearing. However, its much more effective dungeons utility involves using the other half of the mouse. Hyperion's higher base intelligence and 50% multiplicative damage against Withers makes the Hyperion better than the Dark Claymore when fighting the Wither Lords in both F7 and M7, since left-click mage is utilized during boss fights instead of right-click mage. During phase 5 of the M7 boss fight, the Claymore is still better, but since the Hyperion does more damage in theory in phases 1 through 4, some high-end players choose to make a separate Hyperion just for LCM, since it technically does more damage, and that slight bit of damage is worth 3 bill, right guys? Right? And finally we end on Valkyrie, the new black sheep of the family. Its once great bonus stats, being strength and ferocity, are now just not that big of a deal in today's meta. If you're looking for actual sword damage, Scylla tends to do more, with its higher crit damage being more valuable in a meta that's surrounded by more strength and crit damage. And the ferocity buff isn't very useful anymore, since if you need ferocity, buying a Fatal Temple 1 book and buying a maxed out Terminator combined is still worth less than a Hyperion with all of its ability books. Like, come on guys, seriously, what are these prices? So in general, there isn't really a case to use one variant over the other in every situation, as all of them are better in their respective niches. Hyperion is good for offense and max implosion damage, Estrella is good as a dungeons clearing tool, Valkyrie is good at being converted into another variant, and Scylla is a good middle ground that doubles as the best utility option. And thankfully, every variant other than the Valkyrie uses items that aren't that expensive to buy, so switching variants on the fly is also an option that won't break the bank.
Alright, thanks for watching. Look forward to seeing you all in my next upload in 2035 when the meta changes again and they add a 5th Necron Blade variant because, you know what? Why not? Anyways, that's all I got. See ya.
Come on, baby, don't say maybe! Please go out on a date with me and make me a happy Pokemon!
You see, Purloin's a guy.
You let